Look, with my job, people come to me for advice. And it's not always medical. Sometimes it's parenting advice, or it's how to deal with difficult relationships, or it's financial advice. Maybe it's their employment options, or how to interview better for a job. Maybe it's spiritual decisions. You know, I've even had people ask me to write letters to allow them to have comfort animals in their houses, at their work, even on airplanes. You name it, I've probably been asked about it. But let's just get something straight. Just because people are asking me for advice does not mean I'm the expert. I'm just a dude. A dude with a really cool job. You know, when I first started doing this podcast, or when I started my blog, my YouTube channel, it's almost like I quit before I ever actually got going. Like there was just several times that I just thought, I'm not going to do this anymore. And there was this nagging voice in the back of my head. It just kept saying, you can't do this. No one cares. You've got a face for radio. You know, the voice says all the things that I'm afraid to hear. But talk is cheap. Thoughts are free. Doing something costs. It costs a pound of flesh. So you have to ask yourself, is it worth it? For me, for all this, it is. It's worth the pain. It's worth the sacrifice. It's worth the criticism. What about for you? What are you doing? What's it costing you? But is it worth it? Because it probably is. You know, I like to write about addiction because my patients, they don't have much of a voice. So I like to give them a voice or a place where they can hear that they're not alone, that they've got help, that other people care, there's hope. I had to ignore my fears and do the work anyway. Just like my patients who come to me for treatment with addiction, they have to ignore their fears of judgment and criticism and do the work. But you know that feeling like when you're trying to lose weight, and it's like you start out, you're doing well, but it gets harder and harder as you start getting closer to your goal? Well, that's what it's like for a lot of my patients. They're trying to stop, maybe it's pain pills. And the lower the dose, the harder it is. The withdrawal gets worse. The cravings, they claw at your brain. Maybe they've been to inpatient rehab time and time again, but it's like every time they get out, they relapse. They've destroyed their relationships. No one trusts them. And every time they start getting closer to a goal, it just seems like it gets further away. It's easy to feel hopeless. You start to hear those voices in your head. They're the ones that tell you to quit before you ever get going. The ones that say you're not good enough, not smart enough, not talented. The ones that tell you no one cares. Look, there's going to be days that you'll want to give up. You won't be able to sleep because of restless legs. You'll have stomach cramps. You'll feel tired and anxious. But you have to understand that the longer you fight, the stronger you become. It's in the struggle you find out who you are. And since you're listening to this, I think you already know it. So set your feet down firm and carry on, because talk is cheap and action is all that matters.